Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to be living in a country where everyone is constantly afraid of getting their head chopped off? Well, if you happen to be living in France between 1789 and 1799, that was your everyday reality. And the reason for that was this: the guillotine, an invention that was supposed to make the whole process of capital punishment more humane, somehow ended up being the most feared instrument of death in human history. But how did this machine that was meant to be a symbol of justice become such a terrifying icon of violence? Well, when the French Revolution started, the guillotine was seen as a modern and progressive way of carrying out the death penalty. It was a device that did not discriminate. It did not care about your social status, your wealth, or your power. It was a big, scary machine that could fell even the mightiest of French aristocrats in a single clean stroke. In a way, it was the personification of the revolution itself, which was all about tearing down the old order and establishing a government that was, at least in theory, based on the principle of equality. But while the guillotine had started out as a symbol of the revolution, it soon became a symbol of something much darker: the Reign of Terror. From 1793 to 1794, as the revolution entered its second phase, the guillotine started to be used on a massive scale to carry out mass executions. An estimated 17,000 people were put to death by the guillotine during this period, most of them being charged with counter-revolutionary activities or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. This created a climate of fear and paranoia, as anyone could be next. The guillotine became a fixture of everyday life in Paris, its shadow looming over the city, silencing many who would have otherwise spoken out against the violence and bloodshed. The mere sight of the guillotine was enough to make people's hearts skip a beat. They would stand in long lines waiting for their turn to be executed. But the most terrifying part of it all was that these executions were state-sponsored. This was not some foreign invader coming into France and doing all of this. This was the French government carrying out these executions. The whole apparatus of the state was involved in this. The king's former ministers and advisors were among the first to be executed. The revolutionaries who had stormed the Bastille in 1789 were later executed by the guillotine. By the end, even the revolutionary leader Maximilien Robespierre himself was executed by the guillotine. So you can imagine how this thing became such a powerful symbol of the French Revolution. To many, it represented the brutality and madness of the revolutionary era. It was a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the capriciousness of fate. It was as if the French people had collectively lost their minds and descended into a frenzy of violence and bloodshed. The guillotine craze finally came to an end in 1799, when Napoleon Bonaparte came to power and ended the French Revolution. He abolished the death penalty altogether, believing that it was too barbaric for a modern society. So there you have it, the story of how the guillotine went from being a symbol of justice to becoming the personification of fear itself. Do you think the death penalty should be abolished? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching.